election of Tony Blain
right,
to replace the seat that's temporarily occupied by Anita Emerson. This was a very interesting election, a three-way race, and no one really knew who was going to win. And Tony, to some degree, I think, shocked a lot of people in winning this race.
I think so. I think, so Jared Wilson, president of the San Diego Police Officers Association, very large PAC in San Diego, police officer himself, running in a majority Republican district of Poway. You would seem, right, that you would think that he was the front runner and a shoo-in. He was endorsed by the city council members, friend of Brian Pepin, GOP endorsed him, and he came in last. He came in last by quite a bit, and that was definitely a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, it's a sign of this kind of discontent with city politics, to the fact that extends even into the heaviest Republican district of Poway. Now, we should maybe do an aside here. We kind of tend to think about Poway or even District 2 as heavily Republican, but the truth is that, there is no one group in Poway that has the majority. It's and I think in District 2, it's like 37% Republican,
mm-hmm.
and like 33-point-something% Democrat, and the rest are other. Declined to state. So these are very close. It's a third, give or take a few percentage points. So I think that is kind of how the results played out. I think we saw probably a lot of no party preference voters who saw Tony Blain's signs all down Spola Road and in major thoroughfares in District 2 and met with him. To his credit, he knocked on, I think, every single door in his district that he could find. I mean, he went out there walking.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And to his credit, he had a good ground game, and I will give him that for sure. The sign game was very good too. And I think a lot of people who maybe didn't know anything about what was going on in the district race saw the signs, and maybe the name recognition helped him when it came time to vote. So that's Tony, and I think that all worked out in his favor. And Vanessa Springett, who we should mention, came in second place, not that far behind Tony. And Vanessa, no party preference voter. The Poway Democratic Club did end up supporting her. We kind of weighed our options, and a lot of her values aligned with ours, and just kind of the way that she discussed approaching Poway politics, and just kind of this very measured, thoughtful approach, really nonpartisan, not coming in with ideology, not throwing bombs left and right, but just kind of saying, hey, look, there are changes that need to be made. We can't just kind of let developers have everything they want without any sort of thought paid to what is the benefit to the community at large?
Mm-hmm.
Who does this hurt? What is the long-term impact to the city? So we ended up supporting her, and she came in very close. And I think if she had been able to run a little bit sooner, she came in, I think, on the last day of the filing deadline,
mm-hmm.
And still managed to get, a close second place. Tony Blain ran for almost 2 years straight. I mean, I think after the last election was out there on Nextdoor, pretty much running a social media campaign saying, I am running.
I remember he announced his candidacy in, it was in August or September of 2022,
right.
Like before.
Was it before?
Yeah, like it was like a cycle in advance. I had never seen that before.
Yeah.
And,
maybe that worked in his favor. I think with Tony, I'll say this, right? He has come out very strong. He has, I think, kind of more recently has put out a lot of things out on social media saying, hey, we're going to recall, this council member, or, I'm calling for the resignation of the city attorney and the city manager. I hope that he doesn't end up getting siloed, right? He has 1 vote out of 5 on the city council. I hope that he is able to find enough common ground. Not that he has to agree with all the other, council members, because the independence is, I think, what people were attracted to. But, where can he find common ground? Where can he make, some friends and allies so that he can get some of his ideas through, right? Because otherwise he's going to be in a silo, and I worry that that's just going to be throwing away, everything that he worked hard for and everything that people elected him, for.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's been a lot of chatter about Tony, and I met him once. It was just a greeting, a handshake. It was at one of those meetings when Lifetime Fitness was presenting their plan. They had one up at a church here off of Espola. I went to that, and I got a chance to meet him there. It was very friendly, but yeah, like he's pretty aggressive on social media, and I think there's a lot of people that are concerned what his not necessarily how he's going to vote, but also kind of the brashness of how he kind of conducts his business. So I think we're going to find out, once he's sworn in. That'll be pretty soon, won't it?
Yeah, I believe it's the 17th of December that they get sworn in. So
wow, and today's the 10th, right? It's like
next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
Okay, this is amazing. So I think the other angle to that race in District 2 is that it was a three-way race. So it's hard to see how it was going to split. And I think that the Lifetime vote was split in half, between Springett and Blain.
Right.
And I think, that's how they ended up getting a plurality kind of a situation. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's how like Tony was able to kind of sneak through.
Yeah. I think there's probably some truth to that. I think Jared Wilson also did not find a way to stand out as a candidate. I went to that, the town hall that the Chamber of Commerce puts on for every election. And, he ran on kind of the common things, right? Safety, which you expect from, I think, pretty much any candidate. There's not a lot of candidates who come out there and say, that's my lowest priority.
Well, he's a police guy.
He's a police officer. Yeah. One of the things that stood out to me, because it was just kind of the only unique idea that I heard was, he said, I want to allow people to swim in Lake Poway.
Really?
He did. And, I kind of chuckled at that. That's not, I don't remember anybody asking for that. I don't remember that being a city priority among people that I've spoken to. So I think he just had a hard time getting traction, as a candidate. And that left open that space for Tony Blain and Vanessa Springett to define themselves.
Yeah.
And like you said, they defined themselves. Vanessa in particular defined herself with no on H.
Yeah.
I mean, and she was, prior to running, was, a big advocate of pushing back on that proposal. And I think that kind of helped her decide to run for city council. I think Tony Blain kind of came on to no on H later, at least in my impression of it, and kind of saw that as something that he wanted to be a part of. But I think it resonated, right? It resonated with voters in the area who are seeing the effects of the development and the farm, and they're just seeing that it's not what they had voted for 4 years ago.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, people are very upset about this because it wasn't what they voted for. I